This is just typical of these that they're investing legislative capital to do stuff that just doesn't
It's
matter.
absurd. Exactly.
What is how do we benefit from this?
Mhm.
Like there's no benefit. Kids are going to get like addicted to something.
Right.
Like, so like social media wasn't quite as big when my kids were younger or smaller, but they had like the little handheld game systems and the other games. That's what kids do.
Yeah.
Like kids, like if you're not going to service their attention, they're going to find something to do with it,
right.
and it's not going to be school.
So in Florida, have you guys seen this? The state of Florida
Yeah.
will ban anyone under the age of 14 from owning a social media account, deleting all existing accounts. I didn't even know this was possible.
How are they gonna? How are they?
I don't know, how does that work?
Yeah, but
Like, how are you able to delete it? Well, first off,
Yeah,
the guy in the picture is a
He's
fucking
an
asshole,
Total ass.
and so I'm.
Probably has his white boots on. With
I
the heels right
can't
now.
wait for his funeral, and anything that he does is moronic, and this is in that category.
I just don't understand how they'd be able to delete the accounts. Like if a lot of those accounts under whatever 14, you're usually tied to your parents' account or some other adult account or something.
Could
to
be,
that effect.
and
So
and like how do you do that? I mean, these are like global platforms. Like how do you
Right.
do that just in Florida?
how do you access these individual accounts?
But just
that-
just in Florida.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, does your account suddenly go back on when you roll up into Georgia?
exactly.
Like, I don't understand this.
It's just so
But
absurd.
yeah, this is just typical of these imbeciles that they're investing legislative capital to do stuff that just doesn't fucking
It's
matter.
absurd. Exactly.
What is how do we benefit from this? Like there's no benefit. So yeah,
maybe. I don't know if they could actually do it. I do think there's a benefit to it.
what's the benefit?
Why?
I mean, kids are like really addictive to social media. Anything that can pull them away from something and sort of like the idea of it. I understand the idea of it. You pull them away from social media some or all, and then that would bring more time for them to study.
It's too late for that.
It's not
too late
happening.
for
That's
that.
not how
That's
kids
not-
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand if you're talking about the 13 or 14-year-old right now, right? But what about the 7, 8, 9, 10? If you catch them early, I don't know. I'm not saying it will work. I'm just saying I can see the
That's
train
not,
of thought.
It's not for the government to determine that. It's up to the individual parents. Yes, absolutely.
And beyond
Which is
that, like kids are going to get like addicted to something.
right.
Like, so like social media wasn't quite as big when my kids were younger or smaller, but they had like the little handheld game systems and the other games. That's what kids do.
Yeah.
Like kids, like if you're not going to service their attention, they're going to find something to do with it,
right.
and it's not going to be fucking school because that's thrust upon them.
Well, they don't really want them to pay much attention in school too, because remember they're like banning books.
Oh, yeah,
burning
they don't
books,
want that.
telling the teachers that they're gonna have like
Restrictive,
guardians in the school now. Just
Yeah,
all
yeah,
kinds
yeah.
of craziness. So it's not like he's trying to focus.
Yeah, if you look at the hypocrisy of this,
Yeah.
it's beyond stupid because they
Pardon me.
don't want to teach original race theory, critical race theory, or any of that. They don't want to actually educate people, but we are going to worry about what you're looking at on social media.
On social media,
It's
just so
moronic,
absurd. Yeah.
absolutely moronic. But beyond that, like kids demand attention, and if they're not getting it, they're gonna go find it somewhere, and it's not in what they're forced to do and go to school. It's gonna be video games. It's gonna be other stuff on the internet that's not social media. It's whatever. But you have to. I mean, as a parent, you have to kind of set priorities.
The standards.
But it's not just the standards. You have to inspire.
Right.
That's the different thing. You've got to put your kid out there to do and try things. And when they show you what they care about, you got to push and follow it. Follow them and support them in doing what they want to do. Then you'll have an okay kid. But, this restrictive nonsense, this is not the answer. This is a lazy answer. but it's not going to fix any
Yeah,
problems.
it's
Those
just really
same-
for him to, pander to the, Moms for Liberty and those other people that think that that's going to stop people from, or to get rid of the woke people because they have access to this, to social media that allegedly creates more left-leaning lunatics or something like that. But
in their view.
yeah,
But yeah, this accomplishes nothing. This is typical idiocy, and it doesn't address the real problem of engaging and inspiring kids. That's the only job that there is
it's
in
funny
raising kids.
that you brought this up because my son actually wrote a paper for school. He's at UNC Asheville. And so he wrote a paper on it and he sent it to me for me to read it. And I was like, some of the things that his position was that they should, instead of banning it, to like restrict the hours, like parents restricting the hours or access to it, right? Which is what you would think that would be the best way to deal with that versus the government intrusion, just like they want to intrude into, or that they are intruding into women's vaginas. Now they want to tell you what to do with your children at home. It's just absurd.
I'm a big fan of intruding into women's vaginas. I gotta say, let's keep things in perspective here.
I can't deal with you.
Come on, what are we talking about?
No, those are some good points though, because I came in initially like I can kind of see their train of thought on this, but the more you guys talk, I kind of lean on your guys' side more, and plus I don't have any kids,
It's like television. When I was growing up, and then one of the things I was telling my son, like when I was growing up, at 10 o'clock the TV went off, right? Or
In the
11
whole house.
o'clock, right? Like,
See,
the flags come on, and there was no TVs. Like you were
in
restricted
your
as far
house
as
or-
no, like
just
the,
back in the day,
the
like,
actual
it was
TV.
the
Oh,
TV.
okay.
like even my
Okay.
TV,
Really?
even when I was growing up, like the TV just goes off.
Right.
Not my
That-
parents turning it off.
That wasn't happening
There
in the
was
white
no-
community.
Really? So, but when I grew up in England, you just, there was like a certain amount of time that they had children's shows on, and then there was like all kinds of other stuff, and then the TV went off at like 11 o'clock at night.
Really? Yeah.
So, that
Yeah, I don't
It's
know,
up to
man.
us.
I just like, I didn't put any restrictions on my kids. Just, there was no rules, there was no bedtime, there was no nothing. You just had to be up to do what you had to do. And if that was go to school, you had to be up to go to school. You couldn't lay around and not go. If you wanted to stay up late after I already went to bed and do whatever you're doing, okay. But the bell rings at this time and you got to be ready to go and you got to perform. And, and then even if that's, outside curricular activities. But what it always comes down to with kids is kids that are not parented end up in front of social media. But if it's not that, they're going to end up playing video games. They're going to end up in front of a television when nobody's engaging them.
right.
That's a problem of parenting. It's not something you can legislate away. Like, you have to have your kids like doing stuff, and you got to like not, do it because you want them to do it. Like, you got to like
You have
give
to
them
encourage
options
them, yeah.
and then encourage. And then when they show an interest in something, it's like, all right, well, let's roll with that.
Right.
And do that. And that's the only way you're going to get them to be like motivated and inspired. And I think when you look at all these, this notion that they're kids these days, they don't do this, they don't. That's bullshit. That's a reflection of your lazy parenting. And I'm not talking about parenting with a bunch of rules and restrictive stuff, because at some point that chicken's going to come home to roost, and the daughter you spent 20 years protecting is going to fuck like a slut, and the son that you're going to, did all this shit, he's going to do drugs and drink to excess. That don't work. You have to like raise them with options and moderation.
How were you raised? Were you raised with options and moderation, or were you, were your parents very strict?
Some of both.
Some
And I
of
was I was raised in multiple households too, so it's a little different. Yeah. Like a lot of sometimes I had to go to my grandparents' house. I was raised by my grandparents sometimes, and they were very strict. They were very strict and restrictive and religious, and you had to go to church 4 days a week and this and that. And my parents were more relaxed. It was a more relaxed environment. There's still a little, you had to do some stuff, take out the trash and stuff like that, but yeah, a little more relaxed. parents, but yeah, couldn't stay there.
I saw something interesting on Instagram about chores and the correlation between having your child do chores and the success later in life.
Did they have chores at least?
No,
Okay, no chores.
no.
Julian, I tried the chores thing with him. I had like the chores chart.
Like a
It was
list?
Just I had a chart.
Did
and
that
you
work?
No.
So they're
Did
saying,
not work.
they're saying like the kids that have chores have a better chance of being successful.
Yeah, it teaches them organization and goals and stuff
I
like
always
that.
had chores. Did you have chores?
No,
You didn't have chores growing up either?
no. I did. My mom is the type of person that like she likes things done a particular way. So if you try to do something and it's not in her exacting way, she's just gonna get out of the way. You don't know what you're doing. My dad, he was like, he was a very like he is like a very handy person. Like he can fix a lot of stuff and figure out a lot of problems, and like, but I never had the patience to really like learn, and it never interested me to like kind of follow in what he's doing in that respect. Now, I mean, he raced motorcycles, and I was drawn to that, and kind of the success of that, and the way people treated and respected him through that. That was very appealing to me. But just the a lot of just the something breaks, and he finds out how to fix it, and it just never attracted me.
So we had gender roles in my house. So
What is it?
gender roles, like as
Okay.
girls, we had to do certain things, like
that's how it
take
was my
care
grandparents.
of, like the house, and then my brother did, cut the grass, and he hung out with my dad, changed the oil or whatever. But my son didn't. I was not. I tried the chores thing, but
Yeah.
he just kind of was just doing whatever. But he ended up getting into sports, and that's where we both have I think his being interested in sports, and he didn't just start playing basketball. Like I had him in golf, I had him in he played piano, I had him doing all kinds of tennis, everything. I just tried everything with him because I was like, you need to do something outside of sitting in the house and watching TV or playing what is that, Fortnite crap. But yeah, there was like gender roles, and I think that if I was to do it over again, I would definitely have him just follow, like do chores and make sure that he understands that there are things that he should do, and to set more goals. At least start him younger doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it helped me, especially the time with my grandparents, because like my granddaddy was the handy guy, right? And he had his own like mechanic shop and all of that stuff. So yeah, I grew like learning how to change a tire, like that was my chore, to go to the shop, and I was the change a tire kid, and cutting grass and all that. So just knowing how to do that stuff, I do think that helped me. My dad was a cook, and I didn't follow that. Like my dad cooked everything in the house. Like
And
my mom never cooked.
Okay, so I was kind of getting it. So like the stuff that your grandfather was doing, was that stuff that you were kind of just like seemed interesting to you at the time versus cooking or other stuff?
It felt more forced.
What did?
The stuff with my granddaddy? It did feel more forced.
I felt more forced.
Like it was forced upon. I had to do
you
this
had to
stuff
do
because
it.
I did.
Oh.
I had to do it.
Okay.
Or it
was
was
it
going
like-
to be a big problem if I didn't do this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. But whatever, I ended up learning it though. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I have that skill set.
Did you have to get up at the crack of dawn? 'Cause
Oh
my
man!
parents used to-
Before before the birds start roosting.
That's funny.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
no
you're
matter
like
what.
just completely willy nilly. You have sisters, right?
Yeah.
Were your sisters? Did they have like any type of
I
chores? or
kind
you
of stopped
guys-
paying attention to those guys when I reached middle school. I just kind of like, I don't know. Like I just, as like the two things that I hated that I was forced to do, and this shaped my parenting. I had to go to church, and I had to eat like vegetables with dinner. And I hated those things. And when I became an adult, I was like, I ain't doing this shit anymore, ever.